Sakafet, my people. Welcome, welcome. I'm your host, Etienne Rosary, and welcome to Culture Invasion. We are an adult podcast, not intended for younger listeners. In this episode, we're going to cover everything. This is the Everything Bagel episode. I'm going to break down the core pillars of this platform and our approach as a podcast, as well as provide some insight into our current programming scope. And at this time, you'll want to prepare yourself for some 8th grade education tactics because, well, we live in a society. We're going to spend this episode together, learning all the ins and outs of the podcast and how it's going to serve you. And that'll provide you with some insight as to if you want to continue listening, which we hope you do. I guess what we should do is start out with a little bit about me. I am the producer of this podcast. I started in my youth doing a little bit of drama, a little bit of choir, a little bit of stage crew. I was always a tinkerer, model planes, random hobbies as a kid. Went into the business world as a tech support representative for a software company. From there, I just kept moving through the IT business practices and landed in IT process management. Back a couple years, I did cut my teeth on podcasts, working with a couple buddies. Podcast by the name of Not the 9 to 5, available on Apple. It was a podcast for people who don't want to die at their desk working for the man. So we had some good fun there. One of the episodes I was on. I've held multiple leadership roles, private, public sector, and I'm not as avid a reader as I would like to be. Of course, there's digital media, and there's, of course, audio books and books off Amazon that I do have in my toolbox. But as far as picking up new books, I am slacking a bit for 2022. And yeah, here we are almost at the end of the year. I am reading The Phoenix Project. I've gotten 3/4 of the way through it. It's an older book. It's given me a lot of perspective on ideas regarding business process that I've had floating around my head and dealing with people. It's a fairly good book. I highly recommend it. That's The Phoenix Project. Last movie I watched a couple. I watched the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and then oddly enough, before that, I'd watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. I went on a field trip with my team at work, and I'd have to say that Everything Everywhere All at Once was the better movie. Thus, the Everything Bagel theme of this episode of the podcast. So, I do highly recommend that movie. Everything Everywhere All at Once is a great flick. It's a sci-fi flick. Does have a little drama. It's a little heavy-handed drama. Couple scenes, but other than that, it's very good. So, why am I doing this? Why am I bringing this podcast to you? About 2 years ago, I think was a turning point for many of us in many different ways, but I was a little unsatisfied. There's plenty of media out there. There's plenty to consume, but I was a little unsatisfied with the nuances of podcasts. So I wanted to bring my own style and nuance and invite a very, very, very wide group of friends and relatives from around the world to participate. We'll get into the core pillars of what culture invasion is, but I wanted to build a platform to provide new perspectives, and if nothing else, pull together culture, knowledge, and entertainment from those contributors that I mentioned. Will be guests here. I don't know enough, and yet I know so much within myself, right? I'm smarter than you, but at the same time, you're smarter than me. I'm smarter than my guests, but at the same time, my guests will have vast amounts of knowledge beyond my own. So I know they're going to challenge me. They're going to challenge my views on life. They're going to challenge you. And they're going to inspire all of us. We're all going to be inspired by this. We're all sharing in the experience together. We're an adult podcast, right? We're not intended for younger listeners. So with that in mind, we will emphasize respect and dignity between hosts and guests. It will always be maintained. But for our audience, life is not always roses. There will be controversial topics discussed. There'll be painful topics discussed. Be it your favorite trigger word of the week or a topic or belief that you hold dear. We're probably going to talk about the subject matter. So buckle up. You will feel uncomfortable. You will feel attacked. But more often than not, you'll feel inspired. We're completely diverse, equitable, and inclusive here. So everyone's fair game. Everyone has health issues. Everyone has financial issues. Everyone has cultural issues. Everyone has mental stressors. Some of us more than others. And we'll talk about that. Everyone is impacted by global issues. Everyone has pain and struggle. Everyone is human. But that also means we're all biased. We're all phobic. We're all prejudiced. We're all judgmental. We are all human. So being aimed at an adult audience, our goal here is to hopefully spark improvement within ourselves through our better understanding of culture, knowledge, and entertainment. Okay, again, back to those 3 pillars. Here at Culture Invasion, we're entitled to our own opinion, but we are not entitled to our own facts, right? We respect the fact checkers. We respect when a mistake is made on our part. We're humble over here. We'll work to retroactively discuss it and correct course as required. That's pretty self-explanatory. But it's better if we mention that out loud. We also know the difference here between trolls and fact checkers. You know, we're doing the internet here. That's a given. So trolls are going to be rampant. The keyboard cowgirls, the keyboard cowboys. When you tell people the truth, you galvanize a thought process that makes them uncomfortable. You will be uncomfortable. And personally, to the trolls, I don't care. Fuck them. I have a conscious goal to bring facts and perspective. And this isn't just my own perspective, but the perspective of others, facts that others will provide. With proper balance, we can work to achieve open communication and civil discussion. So if you are strictly a troll, this is a preemptive middle finger to you. And remember, in the end, haters never get the last laugh. With human culture, we, throughout history, have experienced shifts. Societal shifts, our cultural shifts, shifts within world powers, shifts due to changing climate. So we'd like to ask, how did humanity get here, and how do we deal with what's next? There's no better place to start than where you are, and then examine both sides of the historical spectrum. What went on before and where we're going to go. From the societal side of things, we have the socioeconomic, socio-psychological, socio-philosophical views. And our goal isn't to solve the ills of the world here. We're not going to solve everybody's problems overnight. We don't aim to do that, but we want to bring things to light from our collective experiences and perspectives, and hopefully empower others to maybe provide a little bit of a wind in the sails of our listeners. We got, pop culture topics, the big buzzwords to be discussed, traditional life, the analog days versus the digital age, social media and its influences, either, the positives or the negatives, family values, again, the traditional days versus now, relationships, men versus women, reproduction rights, history, the economy, education, food, resources, earth, our environment. So to wrap up culture, we're going to look at everything that impacts us through the stories that myself and my guests will share and the discussions we'll have. We can't bring that to you without knowledge. So our shows are not scripted, but we'll have a smooth flow for the sake of your entertainment. We'll have topical discussions that I will prep my guests with before, so they've got a little something to go on, so they can come armed with the subject matter of their choice. So we're going to provide this entertainment through our experiences, our opinions, and our knowledge. And that's where the facts come in, right? Knowledge as defined by Webster's. Facts, information, and skills acquired by a person through experience or education. The theoretical or practical understanding of a subject. Something you've read on, been certified in, received your degree in, and something that you execute on a daily basis, or something that you actively participate in on a daily basis and have become a practical master in that you can share facts with others accurately. So we aim to create a buzz that sparks and inspires you by sharing our experience and knowledge. With that in mind, there's a maxim that I've taken. It's a pop culture reference. Some of you may be familiar with it. It comes from, bear with me here, the Assassin's Creed video games. The maxim can be drawn from the writings of Friedrich Nietzsche. So it's kind of obvious where the script writers for media, get their inspiration. It's pop culture. It's just the way that it's done. People pull from their experiences. They pull from other popular writers. So the maxim goes like so. Nothing is true, everything is permitted. Okay, we're going to tie this in with knowledge because it helps to explain worldviews and our personal views and perspectives, and how powerful knowledge can play a part in our lives. So nothing is true, everything is permitted. Nothing is true. The world around us is not an absolute reality. We as human beings are actually under-equipped to fully perceive our environment. What we experience is a small part of the overall. Already we were born missing something. And as a result, our worldviews are inherently skewed. So as we are born, and by the limitation of our environment, our worldviews are inherently skewed. Combined with everything is permitted, or we have freedom. No one should have control over anyone. You're free to think and act as you wish. In the absence of an absolute reality that we may or may not be able to perceive, we may pick and choose what we want out of what we are given in our lives. What someone values highly, you could very well consider junk. What you decide is the right path, another may determine as a detrimental mistake. And both of you are right. Both of you are right, because it's subjective. One object that I may value can be interpreted completely different by different people. Because your reality is subjective, what you see is your responsibility. So we might not like the hand life deals us, but you still have a chance to either play that hand or walk away, commit a bad decision, extend assistance to someone in need. All you need to do is open your mind beyond the possibilities that were directly presented to you. That environmental perception, that skewed view of the world. Everything in your life is your responsibility, and you have the freedom to see and hear what you want to, and no one can take that away from you. Live your life the way you wish to live it. But if your lifestyle, if your choices, if the hand that you play is discordant with your neighbors, upsets the natural order of the environment, again, that environment that you were born into, expect ramifications. When you make that choice, that possibility, other than what was directly presented to you, expect ramifications. They can be good and they can be bad, but in the end, nothing is true. Everything is permitted. You have that freedom. Part of that was taken from a Reddit post. Looks like that was hit up by Nocturne Sagas, the Redditor. So credit to him or her for the contribution there. But yes, nothing is true. Everything is permitted. That's it's a very good maxim. I mean, as I said, comparisons can be drawn from other people's writings. It can be debated to the end of time if that's the most realistic definition of that maxim. But I did find that contribution from Reddit, and I think it hits home where we want to go with the knowledge that we share with you, and how we'd like to impress upon you how knowledge can help you make that choice, make that different choice than what is presented right before you. That chance to walk away or commit a great decision, or extend that hand of assistance to that needy person. When we look at social media, and we're going to fall into the podcast universe out here in the internet, but we're going to do we're going to do special guests. We're going to have special guests. We're going to do roundtable talks. And we're going to end up probably doing video streams on YouTube in the future, right? Got to, there's things have to fall in order. Got to set up a studio space, all that kind of stuff. So, it's something that I'm tossing up in the air, working on. But I want to emphasize that because we're going to fall into that podcast, social arena, we're not trying to be the loudest 1% type platform. We're not trying to share knowledge that's based on the loudest 1% of societal values and social movements, right? We're trying to look at this from the subjective perspective. Everything's relative. So we want to bring that to you and bring the knowledge that we share in that manner. And we don't want it to be dry and lifeless, right? So we got to have the third pillar of entertainment. We're not going to be overly edgy. We're not going to be overly loud. We're going to have a nice balanced presentation for you guys. All right. I got a great set of skills and views and resources on my own. I don't know everything, but again, I will learn. I've got an amazing pool of friends and colleagues, fraternal brothers and family from around the globe. I've got resources gathered over the past 30 years of my journey in this plane of existence. And the guests that I bring to you are humans of every faith, profession, ethnic group, sharing stories to captivate your mind, to entertain you. All right. And look for resources in our episodes as well. As we close out our episodes, beyond the disclaimers and beyond the, the adult warnings and the, the legal paperwork that you'll hear, we're going to address topics that are impactful to humans. We're going to provide follow-up information for our listeners. If it's local resources, national websites, national numbers for outreach, we want to make sure that whatever the sensitive topics are, we've got resources available for our listeners as well. All right, because again, this is an adult podcast, and we will be pushing buttons out here. That's all I got for you guys for this first episode. Please refer back to this episode, the Everything Bagel episode. If you have any questions about content, or you have any questions about the platform of Culture Invasion, and being a podcast, being in the internet media space, we are organic, and we're going to constantly shift. There's going to be new ideas brought to the forefront. Our platform may sway or pivot one way or another to better encompass our pillars, but look for that evolution to be exciting and new when things like that do happen. But again, thank you for joining me as we go live on all the social media platforms. Spread the word, give us a thumbs up, the stars, all the likes, and look for future episodes in the coming weeks. So, to finally close out this episode, I want to say thank you for joining me. Thanks for listening in on all the details behind the scenes, and I hope to be providing you with entertainment in the future. Be good out there.